Good morning. Please pray with me. Open my eyes, Lord. I want to see Jesus, to reach out and touch him and say that I love him. Open my ears, Lord, and help me to listen. Open my eyes, Lord. I want to see Jesus. My name is Pat Macintire, and I have been asked by the Evangelism Committee to share my Christian journey with you. My reflections about my Christian walk with Jesus have been a fantastic blessing. Only through looking back have I come to understand the way God's grace has followed. His love for me was so much in tune with my life. My parents were quiet and loving. They came from a strong Lutheran background. My dad's brother was a Lutheran pastor, and my mom's uncle was a pastor also. We always prayed at mealtime and bedtime. I was baptized in St. John's Lutheran Church in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania in 1944. In 1947, my dad's job brought him to Lewis, Delaware as a port engineer. He worked for the Pilots Association. There were no Lutheran churches in the area, so my parents decided that St. Peter's Episcopal Church would be a close substitution. The Episcopal minister at that time explained to my parents that the current policy was a closed communion table. Only those who were valid members would be welcome at that table. Unwilling to give up their ties with the Lutheran Church, my parents sadly left. Enter the Lewis Presbyterian Church. At the time, the minister of LPC was an old minister from Scotland. He visited my parents and assured them they were welcome with no strings attached. My parents gratefully accepted, bringing my brother and I along. Later, they joined this church and became active members. Sunday school was very different then. Jack Vessel's mom and Rosie Ann Mears were my teachers, and many of my grade school teachers attended this church. Jack's father was the church treasurer. I was a member of the youth group and junior choir. Because we sat and giggled in the front pew, we were moved upstairs to the balcony. One of the things as a youngster that irritated me was that LPC had Sunday school all summer. My other friends got to go to the beach early. I got to go to Sunday school. I was confirmed here, and in 1961, I married the love of my life here in this church, George. George and his family had deep roots in the Episcopal Church, so my parents encouraged me to go and worship there with him. The Episcopal Church did not validate my Christian confirmation, and I had to be reconfirmed. Many years later, our religious beliefs began clashing with their views, and we decided to go. We returned to LPC and were warmly welcomed back. Judy Salvatore welcomed me to her Bible study class. I was a member of the choir and also later the session. And of course, my parents were delighted to have their children back in this church. Every life has dark days. I miscarried twins, but was later blessed with 3 lovely daughters. 2 are devout Christians, and the 3rd daughter lives in New York City, and at this present time, she is busy battling rats, roaches, and doubts about her faith. Later, we were blessed with a wonderful son-in-law, much to George's delight. There are parts of my walk that I feel unable to share, dark memories, but others were also involved. At this time in my life, my walk with Jesus and my walk with God was very troublesome and very bumpy. Years later, looking back, God was always there. He was listening and waiting for me to accept the things I could not change and to find my path back to Him. My life's lessons learned were painful, but I learned to really pray, and with God's grace, I really learned to understand, and I learned to forgive. Today, I try to share my experiences with others and offer advice when appropriate, praying, of course, to God first about this. George's death was a huge turn in the road in my life, and particularly to my faith. He was my spiritual encourager in all of my Christian endeavors. And at first, I was annoyed with God. I actually prayed and learned to listen. And I came to understand that George's walk on earth was finished. His reward was won, and my work needed to continue. When I was a little girl, I remember going to my grandmother's house and asking her, "Where did you get your faith?" It was so wonderful. "Your faith is so wonderful." She hugged me and said, "Sweetheart, faith is something you have to find for yourself. Faith is here. God's grace is here. But you have to look. You have to ask, and God will sweep you up, and your life will change." I was asked to give you a scripture that has helped me through my days and through my life. But the thing that has really kept me on a straight path is a beautiful sign that Nancy Williams gave to me. And it says, and it's in my kitchen, "Help me to say at the end of today, Lord, that I was faithful." Thank you for listening, and I need to encourage you to open your eyes to see Jesus, to search Him out and say that you love Him, because I can honestly tell you that that is the true path to peace and love. Thank you.